in with questions. So if you have a question, find the chat bar, unmute yourself, ask it. It's going to make it much more interesting. So we were just talking that before the recording started about the need for soft skills. And this is a really important thing to emphasize, first of all. I was working with a client just yesterday, startup company, multi-million euro company, everything's going well, but it's so soft skills, even though everything is going well, he still wants to work on the soft skills because there's a realization that having knowledge in your field, cybersecurity, that's great. The technical aspect is great. But if you can't communicate with other people the messages that you need to get across, it may hold you back from being able to achieve certain things in your career, your business life, whatever it is. So soft skills, very, very, very important. And I'm going to walk you through, just do a quick summary of things that you should watch out for, okay, when thinking about communication. So we were just talking a moment ago about personalities. Are you delivering a speech? Are you going on stage? Are you doing a podcast? Whatever it is. Energy came up, this word. How much energy do you give? Do we give that American sense of energy, really, really full energy? What happens if that is too much for you? That doesn't come naturally to you. This is a great point because we need to think about your individual personality. So myself, I'll give you a bit of clarity. I'm an introvert, absolutely 100%, but I work in a very extroverted profession as an opera singer. That's my bread and butter. What I learned by being in an extroverted profession is I had to continue to put myself out there all the time, every day, doing these exercises that didn't come naturally to me at all. The voice in my head going, this is stupid. I feel mortifyingly embarrassed. Why am I doing this? But, and I hope that you can identify with this, there comes a day where you go, I'm fed up with this. I want to make sure that when I speak, people listen. I want to make sure that I'm confident when I'm stood up in front of people. And so I made a decision about 10 years ago to say yes. To say yes to embracing the importance of soft skills and trying to improve them. And so when I said yes, I did this exercise in drama class or whatever it was, and it was so cringeworthy for the first time. But as the weeks and the months developed, the cringeworthy nature, that voice in my head that says, no, you can't do it, it started to diminish. And it's a really good place to start. If you're feeling that in yourself, or you don't know how to identify which personality to use to speak in front of people, getting started is the first stepping stone, let's say, okay? Good. So let's talk about some of the practicalities now. This is where I'm going to start getting some of you to chip in and to speak a bit yourself as well. And I'm going to talk about the basics of the voice, okay? There's two main ways that we can speak in a presentation, speaking to colleagues. The first is known as head voice. That's when the larynx, the bit inside your throat, is in a raised position. Now, if I hear someone speak in a raised larynx position, just like I am right now, I can come across very friendly, easygoing, agreeable. But the client that I was working with yesterday, running this fantastic business, he said he wants to achieve 3 characteristics: fast thinking savvy, clear, and to be confident. And I'm imagining that those words probably resonate with you as well. You want it to be clear, you want to be confident. When we're speaking in a high larynx raised position, this is often the opposite of what the audience gets. So we want to be very careful about speaking in a continuous raised larynx position. What's the alternative? The alternative is to speak in a lower larynx position, known as chest voice. So it's a position, probably only a difference of ½ an inch, but when I slip down into my chest voice, suddenly I get so much more energy. I get so much more volume in my voice, and it makes a really big difference. When I start speaking in my chest voice, I am hearing someone that's confident, clear, fast thinking, witty. And what you can do as well, rather than trying to copy our American colleagues, I think we can find this chest voice feeling in a way that suits your personality. And there's a super simple exercise that you can do, okay? It's just to take your hand, you put it on your chest, and I even add a little bit of pressure to the chest. And when I do that, I can feel my chest light up with vibrations. It's a great feeling, actually, because it makes you really realize that this area here, it's like a free microphone, a free sounding board for your voice to become really pingy. And when it's pingy, people want to listen to what you've got to say, and it can be very, very natural. We don't want to go too much. We want to stay natural, but this chest voice position really shines. So if there is a brave volunteer, I would love to ask you a question on a very vague question on cybersecurity. Perhaps you can try out this chest voice position for me. Is anyone feeling particularly brave before I pick on someone? Come on, you can do it. Chen. Yes, go for it. Fantastic. So hand on chest. All you're trying to do is to feel those resonances and let that guide the way that you speak. Great. The question is going to be, I've come prepared. How can organizations ensure secure coding practices in software development?
Because they can align with the standards and framework, and after that, they can review their code with doing assessment and testing. If everything is fine, then they can push it to the production.
Very good. I'm going to ask one more question.
Sure.
What is the most important cybersecurity step to have in your personal laptop or your technological life at home?
I would say antivirus, maybe.
Very good. Very good. Okay, antivirus. So give me some feedback. How did that feel? Could you feel any of those vibrations there? Did that change the way that you were speaking?
Yeah, I feel that I was talking from like my heart.
Yeah, great, great. So that's what we call these things, that they're called primal instincts or primal sounds. So if we think about a baby screaming all day, never gets a sore throat, right? Because it has this ability to understand that the body there is there to serve the voice, to serve the way that we communicate. And it's exactly the same with this chest voice position. Well done, Osama. That was great. Another volunteer. Chen, Hafiz?
I can probably do it.
Great, let's go for it. And I'm going to ask you another question. It will be, can you describe the role of antivirus software in cybersecurity?
And I must explain this using my chest voice, correct?
That's right, that's the one.
All right, so hope I'm not too noisy. All right. Now, when it comes to antivirus and its overall role, I believe that the antivirus serves as a gateway when it comes to downloading anything from the internet, especially when it comes to anything that's from a malicious or unknown or untrusted source. The antivirus serves as a gateway to check whether if that downloaded file happens to be malicious, not malicious, or safe file. Not malicious as in doesn't have any proper verification of sorts. That's what I think an antivirus is.
Very good, excellent. Okay, now, well done to both of you. It takes a bit of guts to speak in front of the class, so well done. I want to make some suggestions, some small suggestions. When it comes to your field of cybersecurity, or anyone that has expertise or knowledge in their field, it's easy to assume that when we're communicating those instructions or giving a presentation, that every single person has the same knowledge that we do. So I, compared to you guys, I'm a computer noob, like I know nothing. And when you were giving your last answer there, what I appreciated was the sense of fluency. There was always a sense of moving forward. It was very engaging to listen to. However, for someone coming to cybersecurity for the very first time, maybe that could be a little bit too overwhelming. So your job is to start to use the chest voice. If we can get this nice open position and actually start to use our speech to go towards some key words. And the great thing about using key words is that we can tailor every single word that comes out of our mouth to match the people that we're speaking to. So if I were repeating a question similar to that in my own life, what's the most difficult thing about being a musician? I would go unpredictability. You never know what's going to happen. Each day is different, and you've always got to try and navigate your way through this career in unpredictable times. So I always say, go for it, do a career that you love, but it's going to be unpredictable. So you'll notice how my key word of unpredictable came back. I kept on making sure that I need to emphasize to the audience, this is what exactly I want them to know. And when people speak in a very fast pattern of speech, what can happen is that we come away from listening to the answer, but we couldn't simply retell the information in a simple way. So to break that down very simply, slowing down really helps, but also stressing key words. What do I mean by stressing? Slowing down, really enjoying saying that particular word. If the question is, what's the most important thing to take in your vacation? You've got to take your passport. Without your passport, you're going to be lost. You'll get to the airport, you won't be able to go in. Do not forget your passport. It's just enjoying that word, repeating it throughout your question, and your audience understands where you're going with your answer. So let's combine those two thoughts together. We're going to continue to think about our chest voice position, but now we're also going to be cautious about where we're going using those key words. Chen, are you feeling brave enough to give it a go with a question?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Brilliant. Let me ask you another question, and it is, can you explain what the dark web is and how it's related to cybersecurity?
So the web is divided, let's say, okay. The web is divided into three parts, where the normal web that you usually, that you use is the normal web. So there's another part of the web, which is the dark web, and then another part is the deep web. So in the dark web is where there's a lot of hidden stuff that you can't find on browsers like Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. So there are stuff like drugs that people sell, and then there's also like weapons. So this is something, how to say this, to explain dark web.
Good, well done, well done. So conclusions are always a bit difficult, isn't it? Because I ask you these questions, you're thinking on your feet, coming up with the answer just as you go, and then suddenly you've got to conclude. But the most important thing, when we're going back to how I started the lesson, often we're thinking in our own head, aren't we? Our heart is beating, maybe we get a bit sweaty when we're a bit nervous, and we become very concerned about how things are for us. And what I love to do for my clients is to switch things on their head. So if we say to our audience, the people listening to us, you are the priority. I'll deal with these thoughts. I'm going to try and stay calm. But the most important thing is that you understand this message, that it's really clear, and that you come away from doing that. So very well done in the answer. The conclusion, if you ever get stuck, remember that the conclusion should be short, it should be direct, and we should have a clear message that you're finishing your answer. So it could just be something like, that's how I feel about the dark web. Well, that's all I have to say. What do you think? Just pass it back to the person that you're talking to. Very well done. So we've got chest voice, we've got keywords, and for each of you in the chat today, I would say that speed of speech is very important to you. You've got great sense of energy and fluency in the voice, but if you speak too fast, it's really difficult for people to understand. So slow down. I would say 40% minimum. We want you to slow down to 40% of your current speed. Now, what I'm hoping I can do in the next part here, if I can find how to share my screen. Present, here we go. And I'm going to share with you this very short clip. This is all about the use of filler words. So just, I won't indulge in this too long. Let's give it a go.
Like, I feel very open and, like, honest and chill. And, like, I feel like myself again. You know, I feel like for a while it was, like, not so much.
I understand.
Yeah, but, like, now it's, like...
You get the idea, I'm sure. So each one of you speaking in the questions that I answered, every one of you used filler words, okay? And this is it's a bit of a mistake, okay? So the problem is I am not immune. I've said some filler words, I'm sure, in the presentation today, but I'm very aware that they disrupt the message that we're trying to get across. As you've just seen in the video with, what's her name? Ariana Grande, whatever her name is. She's constantly using those filler words, or what I call sophisticated filler words. We have two forms. Filler words being are, or anything in between. And then sophisticated filler words being words such as like, you know what I mean, sort of, kind of. Each of these words take away from the power of your message. So, for example, if I go back to the last one, what is the dark web and how is it related to cybersecurity? You could say, well, it's sort of like this, it's kind of like that. Really takes away from the meaning, rather than saying something like, we've really got to take the dark web seriously. There's a lot of malicious things that happen there, selling of arms, selling of illegal substances. We've got to make sure that we're aware of what's happening on the dark web. So by reducing the filler words, one small change, your credibility as a speaker really changes. This is great news for all of you guys, because it means one simple tool can increase that credibility. However, the problem being is that in our everyday language, when you're speaking to your friends or your family, you'll probably catch yourself using those filler words all of the time. So the challenge for you is, if you're using those filler words all of the time at home, is it then going to be, say you're then going to do a presentation in front of 100 people on cybersecurity, are you going to use filler words then? Yes. So I would argue it's probably a little bit easier to try and address it in the way that you speak normally. And then when you come to being in a situation where you're more under pressure, it's easier to keep the filler words at bay, so to say, keep them away. Do you have any thoughts or any feedback about that? Do you notice yourself using filler words as well? Let me know.
Mind if I say this?
Please, go ahead.
Well, coming from my experience, usually when it comes to filler words, it's usually during when I don't really have any time to prepare for a speech. Usually when it comes to impromptu speeches, which
Yes.
I'm quite active in because I'm a Toastmaster. So I have to present a lot of speeches, I have to give evaluations, and it's all impromptu. I have to think with my feet, and filler words would tend to pop up every now and then. So when it comes to impromptu, it's always present. But in a prepared speech, the likelihood of me using any sort of filler words will be at best minimal.
That's very good points there. Very good points. And what we want to interpret here, there is a difference, I believe, in a filler word just slipping in versus a filler word that's so prominent that it entirely disconnects the thread that you're trying to achieve. So I like to speak of communication as a thread. So a thread going between the camera lens and here in London to wherever you guys are. And if we continually use filler words, that thread is so destroyed. But there can be scenarios when you're really connected with the chest voice, you're really open with your body language, and it's a little filler word, it slips in. But that one little mistake is not going to detract entirely from that thread. So we want to come about this with a sense of reality. We're not robots, we're humans. There are going to be times where we say filler words, but they tend to come in spontaneous speech at the same point, which is really good for us making sure that we avoid using them. So typically, I ask you a spontaneous question. The first thing that you want to do is to fill the silence. And by filling the silence, we say a filler word because it makes us feel more comfortable. We've said something, now I'm going to find where I'm going to go, and then normally in sentence 3, we get the actual content of the answer. My challenge for all of you listening to this, both live and in the recording, is how do you start your answers really from the very beginning, that it's really full of passion, integrity, every word has a meaning and a purpose. Now that is, it's a big challenge, because I'm asking you questions that you don't know, but this is what makes someone a really fantastic communicator. So first point, using filler words right at the start. This is a big thing because we go to a job interview, we obsess over meeting someone for the first time. Do we shake their hand? How long do we shake their hand for? How much grip do I give? Do I look into their eyes as I'm shaking their hand? We obsess over these things. But it's exactly the same thing for the beginnings of our sentences. We get to create that first impression. And if we grab the audience's attention, then we're more likely to keep that thread aligned. But if we start with the filler words, we go, okay, right. It's really hard to pull your audience back after you've let the air out of the balloon. Now, there's one other place where we use filler words, and it's in the bridges of sentences. So it would be something like, I'm going to go to the shop tonight to buy some apples and strawberries. And I need some mangoes too. This is simply the same as the beginning. We're in between a sentence. There's a bit of silence. We don't know where we're going to say, and it makes us feel better to say the filler word. So the next challenge for you as I ask your questions is to slow down your speed of speech and try and reduce any filler words. If they do come, don't worry, just keep going. And let's see if that helps. Sorry about hitting the microphone. Okay. Who wants to go first? Any volunteers? Any volunteers? Sorry, who is that there? Okay, Osama. Was that Osama?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, next question. Can you explain the concept of encryption in very simple terms?
All right, so encryption is you want to send a message to someone else, but you only want that this one who will receive your message is the only one who can read your message, or in other words, the only one who can decrypt the message. So you keep your message secure during sending it to this recipient, and at the end, the recipient will be able, and he should be the only one to decrypt this message and read it. So it helps on keeping confidentiality.
Very good. Well done. There was only one tiny filler word, which I didn't mind at all, because what you did is you actually blended it into the word. So you said the word red, but you went a red. And that was actually a very good way of just slightly hiding away the filler words. Great tool.
Which word did I say?
What I would love for you... Go ahead, sorry.
Which word did I said? Which one was the filler word?
It was red, I think, and you just went a red. So you just snuck in an just before the word red.
Oh,
It's that was a tiny thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what I was saying earlier on about keeping this thread, in this instance, using that tiny filler word didn't get in the way of what you were saying. So credibility is high. That's what we want. In this circumstance, Osama, what I would love for you to think about is your use of keywords. You're giving so much detailed information, which is great. But remember, when explaining this, you have to really make sure your audience understands what exactly is the key information. So I could summarize that purely because I know what encryption is, but I think that you could simplify this even more by slowing down your speed of speech and saying, this is exactly what I want you to know. This is what's important about encryption. You're just being playful with your words. It may be that your internal body clock, maybe the heart is pumping, or you just feel I've got to keep going along. But remember that that doesn't always serve your audience so well. But very good fluency, and well done for reducing the filler words. My next volunteer, please. Who is next? I'll find a good juicy question for you.
Just if I can bring this up, when this time I tried to slow my voice down, it was like bringing the concepts clear for me. It was better than the first question.
Absolutely, and you've made a very good point there. When the topic is something that you're familiar with and you're passionate about, the tendency in your body is to go, oh, I'm so excited. I want to share. I'm going to tell you all of this information. And what doesn't help with the filler words, so say, for example, I asked this question about encryption. What happens when you're asked this question? I want you to carefully think about what happens in your brain. Is it that there's 5 different possibilities, ways that you could answer? You could go down this route, you could go down that route. It's your responsibility to be as clear as possible for your audience. So what would be a shame is if you start saying, this is the most important thing about encryption. Oh, wait, what about this? And then you get distracted. It's going to throw you off your message. So don't be afraid of being simple and slowing things down. Do you want to try that again one more time or something? I'll ask one more question. You can give it a go another time.
Okay, let's do this.
Good. I'm going to ask, what are the privacy implications of biometric data collection?
Let me think just for a second.
No problem.
Privacy implications is when someone has a medical issue, and if this information like leaked or disclosed, it will lead to some privacy concerns to this person. So what you need to know about this is the issue of privacy when it comes to biometrics is having a medical condition, and the person who have this medical condition is the one who will be concerned about the disclosure or the leak of this information.
Very good. Okay. Now this links in with Hafiz's earlier point that when it's something that we feel prepared in, we're not so prone to use those filler words. In your, not that question that you answered, the prior one, I got the impression that that was really something that you're passionate about, you knew more about. In this answer, your speech was slower, which was great. However, in the silences, you still began to use those filler words. So this is the true challenge, isn't it? How can we, under pressure, stay calm and go, I'm going to talk about this. This is my key word. So if you're asked a very broad question, look, I don't know anything about cybersecurity really, but if I were to answer one of these questions, like explain the difference between ethical hacking and malicious hacking, I would go for a key word. And I would go doing good. There are some people out there that want to do good with their hacking, ethical hacking, but there are some people that want to destroy lives and they have very malicious intentions. But I would support those people that are trying to do good, and that's why I would support ethical hacking. So you'll notice that even though I have no idea about what actually my opinion is about that, I was still able to say something that was comprehensive and something that made sense without using too many of those filler words. That's the aim. That's where we want to get, where we can think on the fly, think spontaneously, but stay on that predictable path, okay, for the audience. Good. Very good, Osama. Well done.
Thank you.
Let's do one more question on this, keeping in mind the filler words, and then we'll move on for the last section of the lesson. Okay, the next question. Do I have any volunteers?
I can try. Let's try to
Fantastic.
reduce my filler words.
Well done. That's the attitude. Yes. Okay, Chen. How does blockchain technology enhance cybersecurity?
Blockchain technology and cybersecurity. How do I explain that? Give me a moment. So blockchain technology, before blockchain technology, everything is centralized. So there's only one system or one organization that has hold of all of the data. So when we have blockchain, the data is decentralized, meaning that no one has complete control over the data. So you are more secure in the sense that no one has a single say in how they control your data.
Very good. Now, isn't that interesting? I think everyone will agree there that with Chen, she's really slowed down the speed of speech and credibility really increased. So the most important thing there was that I really had much more of an understanding. I can retain so much more of the information that you just said. Really well done. I'm going to do a follow-up question for you, Chen, and I want you to think about one of the other things that we've discussed. I know it's a little bit like doing this. I'm throwing a lot of information at you because you're already reducing the filler words. But in your circumstance, I think you could really benefit from this chest voice speaking. You have a little bit of a tendency, like I do, to go into that high larynx position and just to feel a little bit passive, a little bit comfortable. And I would love just to hear how it would sound if you could just find a little bit more of an anchor in your voice. Do you want to give that a go for me?
Okay.
Brilliant. So all we're doing is we're using our body to support our voice with nothing artificial. We're not entirely transforming what we're doing. We're just making our voice shine. And the next question for you is going to be, how does multi-factor authentication enhance security?
So how does multi-factor authentication enhance security? So multi-factor authentication basically means to use multiple methods to authenticate your identity. So for example, you get a one-time password combined with your normal password. So that's a form of multi-factor authentication.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Now that was much, much, much better. Excellent. So everyone in the class, you'll start to realize now how each one of these tools plays a different role. And as we start to learn more about each one of these tools, it unlocks something else in the way that we speak, the way that we communicate. And it's very exciting to hear how you, just in, 44 minutes, you've already started to unlock so much more in your speaking. This is great. Now, Chen, one other thought for you. This is a note for everyone as well. When we're speaking in public, we want to give that sense of comfort for the audience, which is very important, but we don't want everything to become too predictable. So we want to find balance on that knife edge. We're predictable enough, but sometimes it's unexpected. We don't know where the audience is going to feel or where the speaker is going to go. For your last 2, maybe 3 answers, you've incorporated the first line of the question into your answer. So the question was, can I remember? How does multi-factor authentication enhance security? Multi-factor authentication enhances security by, this works, okay? No problem at all. But if you were in a panel discussion and you continue to use this tool every time that you answered a question, the audience would go, I see what she's doing here. She's biding herself time to think a little bit more rather than going, this is what I think. So it's a clever tool, but don't use it too much, okay? Because otherwise the audience will tell. Good. Very pleased with how this is going. Let's go for one last question. And Hafiz, you can give this a go. And the question is, how do digital signatures contribute to document integrity and authentication?
Now, how do digital signatures contribute to the level of security when it comes to documents? In my personal opinion, usually when it comes to digital signatures, they are a bit hard, or in other words, complicated enough so that when you try to mimic it physically, it's hard to replicate. Think of it in a way where you're trying to copy someone's recipe. For instance, that person happens to be a master chef and they cooked up something based on their recipe, which they have tweaked for many, many years. And the cooking techniques of which are very difficult to recreate. And we, as a beginner, try to mimic said recipe using the techniques that we have would be, in other words, almost impossible to replicate on as to how the master chef has done it to begin with. Now, how do I put this when it comes to digital signatures? As I said, if you're trying to copy something that's already difficult, you are not going to get the same result. And that difficulty being the digital signature. It is hard to it is hard to replicate physically. So in other words, it helps to contribute to the robustness of the security level in a way that it cannot be mimicked physically and can only be replicated through digital means, which in other words will make it very, very, very hard for some to try to do it by themselves without the proper tools.
Very good. Well done. Well done. There was a lot about that I really enjoyed. I loved your playful use of an example. So just using as a recipe as an example made me smile. That is a great tool. Anything that we can do to lighten the mood sometimes, to bring an example, a personal reflection, really just changes the atmosphere. That was excellent. Really, really well done. One little thing that you could improve in that answer, I believe, is a clear structure. Okay, so when we're telling a story, remember, staying on those train tracks, we want a bit of unpredictability, but also that familiarity to keep the story moving along. That's what engages the audience. Now, we want a beginning, a middle, and an end. What I believe that you did in that is you had a great beginning, a middle, and an end, but then you weren't satisfied with your end, and then you went on to what I call is a false ending. Use a false ending. So a silly example would be, this morning I went to the shop, my beginning, I bought some apples and pears, which I needed for my dinner. Now I'm going back to cook for my dinner, but I forgot some salt because I need to add that to the recipe, and I also need to get some butter. So I'm going to go there again now, but yeah, then later I'll cook the recipe. So you'll notice how adding that additional information at the end didn't serve my story well at all. And the reason that the false ending happens is because when we speak, we're not convinced that it's good enough as an ending. And this is easily resolved. All we need to do is show in the way that we use our intonation of our voice, a clear sentence, that is the end. We put it to an end. We have the confidence in our body and our words to go, it's ended. And that's enough for the audience. But adding extra information sometimes takes away from the message. Okay, so have a think about that. And I think Osama noticed as well that right at the beginning, you incorporated the answer right at the start of the question. Oh, sorry, you incorporated the beginning of the question into your answer, which again is a good tool, but if it happens too much, we get a bit suspicious. Very, very, very good work, guys. I'm really pleased with how this is going. You've clearly got a lot of expertise in this field, And sometimes when it comes to communication, it's just about putting yourself in the shoes of other people. Yeah, good. What I thought we could do with the last part of the lesson is just to do a bit of conclusion and also talk about the importance of having the right attitude. So dealing maybe with anxiety or overcoming that feeling of anxiety when it comes to performing or speaking in front of people. So if you are someone that finds yourself becoming very anxious about speaking or saying no to these types of opportunities, first of all, that's a great shame, because clearly all of you here have got a lot to say. And I for one, learn a lot by hearing you speak about it. It's great. Remember that the perception in your body, what you feel in your body, isn't always a true reflection of what other people see when they watch you perform. So what you feel doesn't always match with what people see. And that's a really difficult thing to get our heads around. I was once on stage in front of 2,000 people or something, and my thigh began to uncontrollably shake. And I was so worried that everyone was going to see that my leg was shaking and that I was nervous. But in reality, no one really cared. And the more that I would fixate on my leg shaking, the worse it were to get. So we have to come to these moments with the right frame of mind, but also, like I said with the filler words earlier on, if you're speaking in one way in your personal life and then you go into a high pressure situation, you can't just expect to go, oh, well, it's not working, because you haven't prepared yourself. So come up with a 3-point plan, I would suggest. I do this in my performing career. I have 3 things that I do every single time before I go onto the stage. First of all, breathing exercises. Sounds a bit airy-fairy, really, really helps. If you're breathing, avoid breathing. We put our hand here for chest voice. We don't want to breathe into the rib cage, because as we breathe into the rib cage, everything gets a little bit tight. The larynx feels squeezed. We just feel more under pressure. We've got to speak in this position. That's not helpful. So diaphragmatic breathing is a much better way to go. If you've ever done Pilates or any exercise like that, they're always talking about your core. That's why we want to breathe into the lowest of the low. And when we breathe into the lowest of the low, helps regulate our heartbeat, make us feel more calm. Could be a simple exercise like, breathing for 5 seconds, breathing in for 5 seconds, breathing out for 10 seconds. And you just say, I'm going to do that before every speech that I deliver, whenever I get in front of people. 1 minute. Good. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is you're going to want to become aware of your body. Where do people see your confidence in your body? Now, it's interesting because I can't see any of you today, which is a big missing part of the puzzle. We haven't spoken about that so much today, but the way that we use our body is vitally important. So my area of confidence is here in my chest. So every time I start with breathing exercises and then I go, right, I need my audience to see that I am confident here in my chest. So I lead my body from my chest and I go, everyone, this is where I'm powerful. Makes a big change. And then third of all is the mental preparation. It's just a nod to visualization. And when I was at university, I thought that this was nonsense. I thought it was such a stupid idea. Why do I need to visualize myself doing something when I can just do it? But what we start to do is we start to build that mental picture for ourselves of going through the speech, doing different scenarios, seeing yourself succeed, seeing yourself move confidently. And then when you're on the stage, you've got a point of reference then. You've gone through it already. And that's the most critical thing, is having that sense of, I've done this. I am prepared to be here, even if it's, as Hafiz said earlier on, about receiving those spontaneous questions. There's that sense of, I've done this. This is okay. We don't feel so locked down. So when those feelings come of anxiety, remember that having a consistent plan really helps. And you want to tweak that a little bit yourself to find what works for you, but I would say that certainly helps. So we got 5 minutes left of the lesson, and I just wanted to use this as a conclusion for you to ask me any questions that you would like to ask me, if that is at all helpful. Any questions at all? Be brave.
You have mentioned 3 tips.
Oh, sorry, I can't.
To
Your
perform
connection cut out
before
there. Can you
doing
repeat that?
the speech. So you said breathing. The second one I heard was visualizing yourself doing the speech. What was the last one? There are 3 tips to do before performing. The first one
Exactly,
was
breathing and then
yourself.
preparing your body. So it could be, for myself, it's becoming aware of where in my body I am most strong, and making sure that that part of my body is energized and ready. So essentially physical warm-ups. I like to do some shoulder crunches, some stretches, maybe a bit of jogging on the spot or something crazy. Just gets you feeling very alive and alert. And I like to do it in that order. So the breath helps settle your mind. The physical part prepares your body, and then the mental work prepares your mind. So your body is already ready to do the work that your brain needs to do. So I like to do it in that order, but you can tailor it to whatever works for you. Any other questions?
All right, got it.
Any other questions? Chen or have these? Be brave. Ask any question that you want. Let's say I'm going to demand you ask a question. Any questions? Any questions? No? Okay.
No,
Oh, here you
no,
go.
no. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Chen. I think Chen, he's in. I think Chen, are you on the bus or anything? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. So I think we can close the session then in that regard. I mean, obviously, if there are any additional questions that anyone can think of, then I can reach out to Josh to see if he's okay to answer them. But I'll close the session right now. But thank you so much, Josh. That was really enlightening. And it's great that you actually mentioned a lot of things, because Afiz and Osama would know that a lot of what you brought up, I actually brought up to them when they did their presentation about slowly and, you know, just owning your space and making sure you're clear and things like that. So, you know, it's great that obviously someone else that is a professional in that field has highlighted this. I mean, I've done a number of leadership courses, and this is how basically they highlight a lot of what you've brought up. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
There's Osama and also Chen, thank you so much for your time. I know you guys are all sort of doubling up for uni and work and life, etc. So thank you so much for making yourselves available. I'll close the session down now, and I'll make the recording available to all of you as well. Josh, I'll send you a message separately, because what we want to do is we screenshot this. Well, the team, it's not, the video itself is not going to be posted everywhere on social media, by the way. It's going to be just for our mentees. However, the screenshot of it will be posted, and we can basically tag you on there if you're okay with it. I'll send you a message for GDPR purposes just to make sure you're okay with that, and then we can just tag you to say, look, Josh did a session for our mentees, it was great, etc. And then we can just tag you if that's okay.
That sounds lovely. Yeah, I'll definitely give you my details.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of the day and a great weekend, and I'll speak to you soon.
Well done, guys. Fantastic job. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.